So Tourette's is genetically determined, and it is a neurological condition. That's not to say mum and dad are going to have Tourette's, but it may well be, after speaking to the clinicians, that mum or dad will say, well, actually, granddad's brother made some funny noises, but in those days, you know, no diagnosis was given. Or it may be through learning about Tourette's themselves, mum or dad will say, actually, I do have some tics, you know, so it can become more apparent. It typically starts around the age of 6 or 7, although we have had children as young as 2 displaying tics. You know, with hormones and things, it tends to peak around that time, and it tends to be the time that we you know, teachers contact us with issues. It's funny enough, it is as prominent as autism. And I mean, that's always a shocker, isn't it? Because we know so much more about autism, but it's the same prominence, you know, 1 in 100 children. And we do find that 75% are boys. In fact, I think that would change at the moment. We've had this sudden onset of ticking in schools at the moment and families, and that has been most prominent in teenage girls, which we'll talk about in a minute. Tourette's can be initially triggered by emotional events, and what we find is, not all the time, but what we find is sometimes when we look back at a family's history, there was something that happened that brought that about. You know, that child was always going to be, you know, that you can't catch Tourette's, you know, that child was always inherent to that condition. But sometimes we look back and there might be some trauma that's sort of highlighted that and brought that to the forefront. To have Tourette syndrome, it has to be both vocal and vocal movements, and they have to have been apparent for 12 months. So not many people will be getting a diagnosis unless they can evidence the fact that they've been having them for more than 12 months. And classically as well, tics do change. They wax and wane. You have new ones, old ones come back, which again makes it very difficult in schools to pinpoint whether this is a tic or this is a chosen behaviour. So I totally understand how schools may not, you know, fully understand that.